Hey everybody, welcome to the Huddle, and I have the privilege today of talking to one of our truck drivers, one of many who have done a great job over the years, Steve Harper, who's in Sacramento, California. This is the time of year we appreciate our truck drivers. You and team just do so much for the company and just retail in general all across the country. This country couldn't run without people like you who are constantly keeping stores, fulfillment centers, distribution centers in stock, moving goods between suppliers and ports to distribution centers. And you might forget this year because 2020, so many people have been home more. You may not remember how many trucks are out there that if without you and the team, we wouldn't be able to do things we do. And this has been quite a year. As you know, Steve, we had all sorts of momentum changes early in the year. We've had the pandemic. So I'd just like to know from you, what's this year been like and how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It has been a crazy year. As far as things go in my little bubble, it's been probably busier from a transportation standpoint than it has in the past. Doing the onboarding events and then driving truck in between. One nice thing about the pandemic is the traffic's been down. We haven't had a lot of issues there, but freight's been up. Safety has been a big concern. And as far as the day-to-day life, my life really hasn't changed all that much other than mask mandates and other restrictions of the sort. But it's been good.
Well, how did you, Steve, how did you end up starting with Walmart and when did you start with Walmart?
I started with Walmart 10 years ago, or 9.5 years ago. My background is after the late 70s, early 80s. After I left law enforcement, I got into transportation and was an operations manager and fleet manager for a private fleet here in California, and transitioned back to Arizona and did a few little personal ventures, bought a flower shop of all things. My wife and daughters ran that, and I played golf. And then one day I decided I was going to buy my own trucking company, and I had 3 pieces of equipment and ran that business for a while, 10 years or so. And one day a friend of mine wanted to expand his business, and he was looking for a truck and a cow trailer. What I did was haul cattle and a flatbed, and he had money. So he purchased my equipment, and my friends were already working here at Walmart. So I applied, and by some type of miracle, you guys hired me. And it's been started up in Hermiston, Oregon, and transferred down to Grantsville, Utah, and then up to Corinne, Utah, where I'm at now. It's closest to my house. And the opportunities that came my way here at Walmart, which, led to the mentoring on the PeopleNet program and in transit, and then these onboarding events came about, and that's really afforded me a lot of opportunities, which led to the road team, and now I travel around a little bit out here in the West and assist in the onboarding along with a bunch of other people, and it's been rewarding and different for me, but I like this type of work.
Steve, that's great. It sounds like you're almost a serial entrepreneur, from buying and selling businesses and flower. You own the flower shop, and now you're training drivers. So it feels like you love to do things that are hard and challenging and unique. Does that describe you right?
I do like challenges. I get bored easy. I like to expand. I like to try new things. I like being challenged. And that's what really occupies me.
And what's the onboarding event? What's it like? What are the events like, and the team of people? Just for those that are listening that don't know what it is, can you talk a bit about what that's like?
When we were doing the large centralized events in Casa Grande, Arizona, back in September, I believe it was, of 2018, it was a learning curve for us and the company and the new drivers. We hadn't done anything like that prior. So we brought all the driver candidates or applicants into a centralized location. At the time, it was Casa Grande, Arizona. Back then, everybody was flying in on a Sunday. And then Monday, we start the assessments. And we have a driving assessment. We have a backing assessment. and the pre-trip assessment. Each applicant does each one of those every day for 3 solid days. So there's 9 sets of eyes looking at them and evaluating their skill level. And each day they're assigned on a system, whether they're track 1s or track 2s, and track 1's good to go, track 2 needs a little work. And we assess that each day. And then the second day, and then the third day, the drivers come in and they demonstrate their skill level, and we decide that they are ready for Walmart, be a Walmart driver, or they're not, and what areas they need work in. It takes quite an effort for our leaders that guide us there to make sure everything flows. But we got in a groove, and then the pandemic hit. And here we are doing localized events, and safety manager in Sacramento, Marty Evans, has done a fine job putting together a real good video here at the McClellan Air Park. And we had one last week, and it went off without a hitch. It's interesting to see the applicants that want to come to work here, that want to be part of what we believe is the best of the best. And they come forth and they put forth their best effort, and we hopefully we can put them to work and continue to do that and get this where we need to be with our staffing.
That's great. There's a lot to pull these off, and I was looking at someone sent me over the weekend, and the culture of Walmart drivers is interesting. It goes back to our founder, Sam Walton. He would go and sit with drivers, as I was told, as early as 4:30 in the morning for a couple hours and just listen. I'm sure you can learn a lot about what's really going on in the business with your peer network. I can only imagine the stories you must hear, and you probably got a pulse on the whole business from the point of view you're in. But it does make a big difference what you're doing to make sure that the drivers that are out moving goods around the country are safe, they're trained, they're professionals, which our drivers have a reputation of. Number one reason people leave Walmart who are driving is retirement. So I think that's a great sign that there's a lot of tenure longevity. So when you talk to these drivers, what kind of mileage do you run across? What kind of stories do people have about how many miles they've driven and driven safely? What are some things you hear?
It's kind of a spattering of different experience levels. We've had people that have come here, have been driving for 40 years prior to ever applying here. And we have people like last week that are barely meeting the min quals that have been driving for about 2.5 to 3 years. And it's interesting to see what they thought they were coming to join. You know, just driving around in circles, looking out the windows all day isn't quite what it's all about anymore. But, you know, to see them come from the long haul, coast to coast, just getting a truck and drive for a week, to coming here and dealing with stores and in and out multiple times a day, and in and out of DCs and in and out of vendors, and getting out of the truck and back in so many times a day, and never really having to go too far out of your region is different than what a lot of these drivers are used to, and me included. When I had my own trucking company, I could end up in Boston, Florida, Orlando, or anything like that. On a personal note, I was in Orlando, Florida, when my house in Utah burned to the ground at 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, there was nothing I could do. And thankfully, I have an independent, headstrong wife that took care of everything, and the kids at the time, and I stayed out and did what I needed to do. And I'm thankful for this type of job, where I'm never more than a day's ride from home if anything were ever happen again. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. They're looking for that stability that we offer as a company, that kind of a regional or interregional type of dispatch, where they know what their days off are going to be, which they never knew before. And the money is good there to support your family with, and the equipment and the support staff, the transportation office, the shop, all of that comes together to provide them with an experience that, from what I can tell, most of them really haven't had in the past. And that image of being a truck driver is just sitting in the seat and driving from California to Boston and back, and is changing. with the hours of service regulations changing, the type of freight and deliveries that we have, they're excited about.
You said you talked to other drivers along the way. What kind of network or friendships have you made? And I'm assuming probably all around the country now. When you pass another person and you get to talk, I'd love to hear about what it's like between the drivers.
Locally, it's everybody wants to know where everybody else is and what they're doing and where they've been and how their week's gone and what's happened to them. And I know that over the 9.5 years I've been here, I've developed a lot of friendships that I've made since my orientation when I came here that are what we like to call friends for life. And they made an impact in my life and supposedly mine and theirs, I hope. And you stay in touch, but my circle got bigger. And they're scattered out from the East Coast to the Southeast to the West Coast and everywhere in between. And it's different, but in a good way. You're never really all that far from home, and you keep in touch with your friends, and you see your friends at the DCs and things like that. But you miss the friends that you made that are 2,000 miles away as well.
And I assume most people haven't driven from the West Coast to Boston, so I just would say I've never done that, and it does seem like a long way away. So I'm sure that
you've done it a lot when you can do it without a map.
That's exactly right. Stick with those big interstates and go.
We have this saying, it's like, well, I don't go there because it's on the other side of the crease in the middle of the map. If it's on that side of it, I don't go there.
That's great. Certainly appreciate you taking the time with us this morning. I know you got up early to do this, and I appreciate what you're doing for drivers and new drivers all across the country. And I just want to say a big thank you to you and your peers and all the members of the fleet across the whole country. We couldn't do what we do without you, and many communities this year depended on their Walmart store for essentials and grocery and consumables, and this is all part of the solution. So I just want to say thanks for taking the time this morning, and look forward to seeing you out on the road somewhere.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.